The second point is that on the wage credit schemes, I'm a bit concerned because we are basically telling Singaporeans that without lifting our fingers to improve the productivity, you can get an increment from the employer. And if the employers are in the right mind, I don't think they will ever take up this particular offer. Because why should they pay $120, so that the government will pay 160, the government will pay the other 40. Right. And the other thing I'd like to suggest is that if we are going to have this wage credit scheme, I'd like it to be time for companies to also take up the PIC. That means to say you must show that you have the intention to raise the productivity before you can opt for this particular thing. All right.
So I'm Jermaine. Okay, I actually work for a local membership body. Okay, so what is good about the budget is in a pre-budget survey that we launched last year, it actually shows that the concerns of our members, the biggest concern is actually healthcare. So it's good in a way that this budget has addressed that. But on the other hand, I have this concern about this wage credit scheme that the previous chairman talked about. I think on paper it looks very good because let's say employers are pondering whether they should increase the pay but have some cash flow problem, it may help them. But on the other hand, because I'm an auditor background, I'm also concerned, will the system be open to abuses? For example, I can the business could recruit somebody at very low wage and promise the guy 1 year later I will increase up to 4K. So in a way, the government will co-fund all this wage increase, which is actually quite artificial and not real in nature. So I'm concerned what's the mechanisms in place that can actually make this wage credit scheme actually be effective in a way that the government wants it in the first place. Thanks.
I think to put the wage credit scheme in context, the wage credit scheme will co-fund 40% of any wage increase that the employer is planning to give. So the question becomes, why should the employee plan to give a wage increase? So Lou says, why should the employer give a wage increase if the employee is not lifting a finger? I think if I borrow his words. Indeed, I think that would be a very sensible consideration on the part of the employer. This scheme does not compel the employer to give any wage increase, but what it does say is that if in the process of restructuring, you want to share the gains of that restructuring, you want to share the productivity gains of with your employees, here's how we will help you. Now, one reality that we have to deal with is that if you talk to employers, business people, what they are saying is the labor market is very, very, very tight. And in this very tight labor market, over the next few years, I as an employer expect that whether I like it or not, I'm going to have to adjust my employees' pay. Because if I'm unable to, other businesses that restructure and do better will be able to offer higher wages, and if I'm not able to keep up, and I'm not able to also do my own restructuring, then I may lose my employees, or I may lose my business as a result. But we all know that the whole process of restructuring also takes effort, and sometimes there is a cost involved in restructuring. So take, for example, you used to service your customers one way. Take your example in a restaurant. You used to have 6, 7 people, and in order to meet your customer orders, there is a certain flow, certain work process that you have gotten accustomed to. Your customers have gotten used to it also. But because you are pursuing restructuring, perhaps you have decided, I no longer want my staff to take orders the way they used to. I'm going to use a mobile application. I'm going to put an iPad on the table and ask the customers to order themselves. Or I may say, our restaurant is a casual dining. It is possible for customers to come to the counter and collect the food after they place the order. I want to try a new way of doing things. And if I'm able to succeed in this transition, I will be able to manage with not 6, 7 people, maybe I can manage with 4, 5 people. And if I'm able to do that, I have productivity gains, I want to share it with my employees. Now what we're saying is that for him to buy his mobile application, for him to perhaps free up space at his counter in order the customers can do self-serve, maybe he has to change some of his processes in the kitchen, or maybe he has to outsource some of the cutting, slicing, dicing, so that he doesn't have to use so many people and then find that on certain hours he has got idle manpower. All of these changes will cost him some money, which means that during the process of restructuring and during that process of upgrading, actually it may eat into his profits. It may make life a bit tougher for him. And if it eats into his profits, then he will look at his employee and say, sorry, this year I can't give you anything, And then the employee will say, wow, now we are doing better and you cannot help me. So what are we going to do? This is where the wage credit comes in. The wage credit helps the employers to share his productivity gains that comes about as a result of upgrading. And there is also a very important facet of the WCS. In this instance, the employer still has to pay 60% of the wage increase. 40% is supported by the government. So the employer does have to think hard whether this is sustainable or not. We have to leave that to employers, individual employers, to decide for themselves what type of wage increases will be sustainable, and then it's during this 3-year transition that we are helping them to make sure that it's not too costly whilst they are going through this transition. So I don't think it will be a situation of without lifting a finger. I think businesses, companies will be working quite hard, and I think we ought to support them. Now there was another question from Jermaine, whether WCS is open to abuses. Let me explain to you how this works. The WCS will go on the total compensation, total wages that a person receives. And this total compensation, you may ask, how do you know? Well, it's because there are CPF records, and the employer has to declare how much is being paid. So it'll be based on the CPF records, what actually has been given. And in any scheme of any kind, there is always something here and there that people may try, but I think we have a very robust system called the CPF, and I think that's going to be quite helpful to reduce the risk of abuse.